feeling a bit like Alice? Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
Curiosity often leads to trouble.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I'm awake. Are you? Let's go now to our new episode of the Unfiltered Rise with me, Heidi Love.
Come to my house. All
It's
right.
crazy. So yeah, we just finished this. Now we're gonna go. Guess who the guy on the left is?
Ooh, lovely.
Moloch.
Yes.
Some of Horizon
Spooky.
posts a snippet from that, but notice his chest. Notice anything if you zoom in? An
Yep.
eyeball. Again,
Yep.
statue figurine of Molech. Note the all-seeing eye upon his chest. Mul in Sumerian means star. And again, some people are saying, how do you know that's what his name means? Well, Mul, Mul. Again, we're
Look
getting
it
an
up.
English translation bastardization, but in essence, it means star, which fits with the Persian bit with Esther, Astrate, Astrata, the star religion in itself. You look up Baal, translates to Lord. Moloch basically means star. You put them together, Star Lord. Guardians of the
Dun, dun,
Galaxy?
dun. Yes.
You're welcome. But again, this is how they subtly subterfuge it into our culture and our mindsets with like things like the Eternals, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's gradually putting that mindset of the space gods into our culture again, so that we accept it when they do Project Bluebeam or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know what their outline is. I just know a rough trajectory.
Yeah.
And I feel bad if we're going to be here for it, having to watch all the stupid people go crazy. And if
Yeah.
we're not going to be here for it, having to watch all the, screaming from heaven.
2020 was definitely a dry run for that.
Oh, good grief. Yeah.
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 Yep.
It scares me. Like when I saw some of the panic of some of the people, I'm like, when it's going to hit the fan,
It's
you're not
gonna
gonna
be
be
scary.
you're
Yeah.
going to accept the mark because you're not smart enough to, or
No.
open enough to hear what people like myself are presenting. Again, it's all
Yes.
right there. And I'm showing you. You can pick up the books and stuff like that, pick up the sources. Again, I'm showing it on the screen. A lot of the stuff you can
Mhm.
pick up yourself.
Yep.
Excuse me. The book of Enoch mentioned in Genesis, it has a correlation with Genesis 6, Enoch 1, 2 Peter and chapter 2, and Enoch, Jude 1:14. In the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved an everlasting change under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Again, we read this stuff where we're just going, no, okay, whatever that means.
Mhm.
But when we apply Enoch, suddenly this makes more sense. When we get to the verse about the angels being let loose from under the River Euphrates, suddenly there's a connective link. It makes sense. Does it dishonor God or denounce him in any way? No. Does it give validation to the origins of giants when children of Israel are going through there and they see giants and like the 12 spies that were sent out, they came back with reports that they're we're like grasshoppers in their sight. Where does this happen? Well, it says here because they had a lot of food and therefore they must be tall back then, and was taller than the average Israelite, which was probably about 5'6". And it's like, really? That's the best you got? And at the same time, this debunks the current Israeli narrative of, oh, we're doing this because, it's God's chosen land and we're chosen people and we have the right for these atrocities because we're ordained, we're chosen, we're special. It's like, no, that was
Mhm.
against an unholy offspring, not against another race of people. You're taking it out of context intentionally. That's why you hide the bones, is because you had this all planned out since 1871 when Albert Pike wrote this letter about the 3 world wars that were supposed to be coming. Again,
Mhm.
covered that with Wicked Planet, with Ron of New England. So you follow me or whatever, folks. That's where you can get that connective link, and I'll go into detail there. Don't have time here.
Right.
The fact
So
that
great.
Peter and Jude embrace the content that is demonstrably from one Enoch means that the content of that book, though not canonical, cannot be thought as entirely inauthentic. And that's what I tell people is that, some of the dialogue is a little bit more modern. It's like, yes, well, you kind of have to piece some things together. It's an oral tradition. It's not the original language. But at the same time, does it eventually make sense? Yes. So take whatever with a grain of salt. There's some stuff in the Bible I still don't understand. And yet
Right.
I still take it as God's word.
Yeah.
So get over your grapes. Uh, all these other passages, correlation and connection to Enoch, whether it's a similar phrasing, it is a similar context and reference from, especially you see a whole plethora of revelations. You got Second Thessalonians a couple of times, Matthew. A lot of times Matthew is always speaking of the end days with Christ. So you want to screenshot that again, folks, do so. Feel free. I might provide a link to this wherever we post this. And I'd appreciate if you could throw $5 my way, because every ounce counts. But yeah, the spirits of the angels who are promiscuous with women will stand here, and they, assuming many forms, made men unclean, and will lead men astray to sacrifice to demons or daemons. They believed to be gods. That's First Enoch 19:1. Seraphim, Nephilim, Rephaim, and Teraphim. Yeah. So there's a consistent theme and narrative. Again, when you listen to the cryptid, I will connect it to how that possibly can coincide with the mark of the beast. I highly recommend succincting the two, because what I'm talking about with you is something that, okay, cool, but how it all culminates into
Coincides.
into one thing, and what's the end goal with all this, you're going to want to be listening to that. It's very fun. I've had several people tell me it was great. I had one mother tell me she forgot to pick up her kids because it was so good and she kept rewinding parts.
Oh my
So I was
gosh.
like, that's promising, but remember to pick up
Yeah.
your kids. Um, this is John D. How we all connect now.
Yep.
As we can see, the one on the left on the picture on the right, that is a beeswax medallion that he had. If you're already familiar with Heidi's works, she's probably already gone a little bit into detail, but you see the chart that he's got drawn here with the Star of Remphan with the fallen angels' names on it. See even further, it's a pentagram. And what does that look like at the very bottom of the eyeball? So therefore, you get the unholy trinity of Babylon, with the Remphan star being Nimrod, the pentagram being his mom wife, Semiramis or Ashtaroth, and the eye being Tammuz Horus. It's all right there, and they were using this to conjure demonic forces, which we already know with John D. So therefore, I highly suspect when Nimrod was building the Tower of Babel, he was using these symbols, the Ouija board or Ouija boards, to contact the fallen Nephilim, the fallen Watchers, and how to build a war against heaven, how to breach the dome. I'm a domer.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw that out there, folks. I am a domer, not a flat earther. I'm a domer.
I'm
God,
I'm a flat bottom dome top.
yes, I
Because
can go with
like
that
a
one.
globe,
Yeah.
like a snow globe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
I definitely
Where
am
do you think
firmament.
I did that for Nick. I said, where do you think they get the idea for a crystal ball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because God's over here going like this. The earth is his footstool. All right,
Yeah.
so if it's a footstool, that means it's got to be flat, like the seal, like it says in Job. But you can also tell me that if the earth is his footstool, so either he's standing on the globe like it's like a seal in a circus, or he's looking down at us almost like
Like a
that's the way I
crystal, yeah.
see it.
Well, and on top of it, the rainbow is the perfect reason why I believe in a rounded dome,
Yes.
because it's a reflection of the waters. So
Yes.
it
And
just
probably
makes
the layers of
sense.
heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the oil off of a wet driveway, when you can see that, you can
Yes.
see colors. And so I just think that that's how it is. And if you look at biblical flat earth, Josh breaks that down. I have an episode on it. He's amazing.
Nice.
So yeah, Josh Monday on a Christian conspiracy show.
I'm looking into doing it because the way I like doing that topic is, okay, I see your point. But why are you so cognitively dissonant to hear another side? Because it's contrary to everything you ever heard. And I kind of like doing, not mocking, but a little bit of a satire of, so why do they have this? And what do they mean by this? It's like, and Stanley Kubrick, what about this? Well, he was filming the Space Odyssey. You notice he's 30-something years younger here. Some of
Right.
the people in this photo are dead by the time he was filming this Space Odyssey. Why was it
Yeah,
shot in black
exactly.
and white? And you start, derailing their whole argument, and it's like literally you could look at the clapboard, Apollo landing hoax, and it was filmed
Mm-hmm.
on April 1st, 1969. April Fool's Day. I wonder who the fool was. Anyways,
That's
um,
funny.
again, that's the start of a new year. If people are,
Right.
is it April or
Gotcha.
March? I think it's April, right? That's where we get to
I
deaths
think,
of December.
yeah,
That
I
means
think
10.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a reason they do the things they do, folks.
Oh, at 100. They do nothing on accident.
In 69, that's the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
You break it. I don't have time for that. We're not doing that right now.
Sorry.
And no, I'm talking to the audience.
We're derailing.
Yes. And I'm very gifted at that. I
It's
can go
fun
eat
though.
trails
Yeah.
for as
Well,
the day
it's
is
fun
long.
when you can do it with someone that can go. It's
Keep
just
up.
not like you said, it's not something you can just bring up at dinner with rando people. So
Oh,
yeah.
even with a dating thing, I have to literally
Uh,
detect the listeners. Like, where are we
you
at right now?
you need a scanning system for that. At this
Mhm.
point, I can't even imagine. Oh my gosh.
Like, where are you at?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the sigil of a meth when you merge all these things together, also called the seal of truth of God. Oh my. A meth means truth of God in Hebrew. The sigil of a meth is the elaborate symbol containing the unusual six-pointed star, the hexagram, and is normally constructed of two triangles, one upright and one upside down. The star in this sigil is made using one line. This would imply powerful protection. In the center of the symbol is a five-pointed star, and written in various places the names of angels and of God. The sigil is connected to Enochian magic. Remember, Book of Enoch, they have Enochian magic. If the occult believes it, why do you think they don't want you to know about it? Food for thought, if you've been
Yes.
cynical thus far. Since Dr. John Dee saw the sign in a vision, which he believed to have been given to him by angels, although the symbol predates the time of D by about 3 centuries. I would be willing to go even further back with that, but again, it's been buried history, and he kind of resurrected it. That's why I call him a forefather of this whole occult.
I agree.
All right, so now that you folks have seen this picture, kind of understand how it all connects back to the Trinity of Babel. Oh no, it didn't. Can you see it?
Only John. I can only see Johnny and the guy next to
I
him.
hate when they do this to me.
When they make him
Anyway.
not available to see. Yeah.
Why do they do this to me? Anyways, I was going to give a nice little trivia fact, but I'll just do it from memory. Edward Stevenson, his code name was a man called Intrepid. That is the name of his biography. He is one of the inspirations for 007, as was Aleister Crowley, and as was come on, Brandon, I know you know it. Aleister Crowley, Stanson, and why is the slide not showing?
It'll come.
I really hate when they do this to me. Okay. Anyways, Aleister
But
Crowley.
Crowley was the father of nothing. Crowley was the taker of all things.
Yeah,
I
he
hate to
literally
tell
just was like,
people.
this is some cool stuff. Let's see what I can do in my backyard. And there we go. But John Dee was the guy that literally put money where his mouth was and tried to do all this stuff.
Sacrificed literally everything for
family.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Again, they sympathize with his life, but at the same time, it's like you kind of got what you deserve, dude.
Yeah, he knew at wife swap we weren't in the right direction anymore.
At a certain point, did the ding ding go off and say, "Wait a minute,
maybe not."
Check out with Bible.
Yes.
That I was explaining to the boys on Cryptid. I was saying that, like, in essence, he was at a point where he was like, I think I'm connecting with God. And then there's a certain point where it's just like, I don't care who sponsors me, if they're Catholic or Protestant. I just want to keep playing with my toys.
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically.
And I don't care what problems I get because of it.
I don't care how it happens. I don't care how it comes about. I just want to keep tinkering with what I'm doing. Let's see if I can look it up here. Okay, here we go. Aleister Crowley and William Stevenson, and Okay. John Dee. Duh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the three people that inspired James Bond. I apologize, folks. I had a little bit of a brain fart. It was a very long day. But yeah, the three individuals that inspired what you currently get on your screen. He signed his name as 007. Whole lot of symbology. He's the forefather of Rosicrucians and a lot of it's the Golden Dawn. Put a note on that. Because the Golden Dawn. If you watch the episode that we referred to earlier, Knights of the Golden Circle. Again, the bottom left is from the book by Jason Louv, Louv.
Yes. Great book.
Yes, it's tedious at points.
Yeah.
But again, if you kind of can skip through the hard stuff. But you'll notice that he drew a little pictogram of a stick person with a noted little crescent crown. You notice that with the Virgin Mary and Jesus. You notice that with Semiramis and Tammuz. And you notice that the Knights of the Golden Circle also were wearing a very similar little crescent moon at their secret Masonic meetings. Now, again, if you want to understand the Jesuit Masonic Alliance off Lincoln, Far Out with Fausch, Secrets of the Vatican and secret societies, you'll have fun. How that all connects. But the horn god Cernunnos, what does that horn mean? Well, Cernunnos, as the triple goddess in the divine feminine, so the horn god is the divine masculine. Not all Wicca groups, Wicca refers to witchcraft, recognize or worship the male aspect. The horn god is not Satan, nor is he evil. He does not represent the coarser tendencies of humanity, though as well representing the sun, again, sun god relevance, to the goddess moon. The horns were originally stag-like, branching, but becoming more bull-like recently. The curving shape echoing the shape of the crescent moon of the goddess. Cernunnos is the Celtic god of the wild forest in some respects, like Dionysus. That is important. In Greek myth, he is also exclusively shown with branching antlers. I'm going to be connecting Osiris. Like I said, when Ra or Nimrod died, he became the god of the underworld. Cernunnos is an equivalent of Osiris. As is Dispatar. Dispatar was the Latin sky god of the underworld. Dis means to be set apart. Saint means to be set apart. Dispatar, Saint Peter. Game, set, match. The Mount Hermon story sounds a lot more reasonable to me than your stupid Saint Peter, and we're going to build it on his dead body. Anyways, moving on. So, what is CERN? The CERN Hadron Collider, the opening of Stargate. CERN is named after, again, the Celtic god Cernunnos, and aka another variation of Hell is another name of a god of the underworld. At CERN's headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, it is a statue of Shiva doing the cosmic dance of destruction. Shiva is the Hindu avatar that parallels Nimrod, who built the Tower of Babel. CERN's Hadron Collider rings mirror the spirals of Saturn, again, halos. Want to watch that with Josh Monday. In the occult, Saturn's in the dark sun in the prison planet of the fallen angels. So that probably connects to Euphrates, I'd very much imagine. CERN is designed as a teleportation machine to Saturn. The secret mission of CERN is to unleash Apollo, aka Tammuz, that's the sun god equivalent, and the dark angels from the abyss, and to create a stairway to heaven to make war with God Almighty. Remember, if you can look this up on YouTube, folks, simply type in Stairway to Heaven backwards, and it's a hail song to Satan. And they composed it in Aleister Crowley's house in Scotland. Some trivia for you there. Again, look up my boys on Cryptid Warfare. I was so happy to be on that show. Again, these guys are very awake, so it was very fluid. With the information that I present, you can listen in. I'm not sure if they have a visual format because a lot of people have been DMing me.
I'm not sure.
I'll have to ask them, but they might have a visual. But orally, I explain a good deal. It's very easy to follow. But they were the guys who gave us the birth of the internet. So CERN, Cernunnos, internet, like I explained on the show, means grave or tomb. Net, to hold something. And you can see the two emojis that I put up there of a net and then the global net, or how they want to contain us all. Cell phone. So again, that will go into more detail there. But again, like I was talking about earlier, What magic is Astaroth use? Magic! Time magic! Astaroth uses this magic to attribute, to manipulate time. Oh my gosh, we have so many time slips and time jumps and this thing with Marvel being thrown at our face. It's a cool concept, sure, but when you look like Back to the Future and whatnot, there's a lot of symbolism that they're throwing at us. And what I personally suspect, because in the Book of Giants, by Joseph Lumpkin, he quotes a passage where they said, when in Gilgamesh we'll have to place our hope. Now, either he was a messianic figure that they knew was going to be coming because Gilgamesh is equivalent of Nimrod, and or somehow Nimrod time traveled back to consult the giants on how he was going to bring back their spirits. And again, when you watch Cryptid, I explain how that connects. But again, Astaroth, there's a connective link. And I was really grateful that you told me this, because that was another thing that I found today. And I was like, it's the linchpin. It's the connective link. And it connects fluidly with CERN. But again, Revelation, when is the son of perdition mentioned? Of all verses, 9/11. Probably not a quinky dink. And they all had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew and tongue is Abaddon. But in Greek, the tongue is Apollyon. Apollyon? Very possible. In the book of the Revelation, the New Testament, the angel called Abaddon is described as the king of an army of locusts. Now, I broke that down. I highly suspect that's going to connect to the Navy locusts that we have, which are drones. And they're going to basically a medical authoritative state where they're going to keep an eye on everybody in their little camps and whatnot. And the crowns of men, when I did a compare contrast photo, when you look at their little crown propellers, kind of looks like that. The stingers of tails, they can shoot at people. So when you're trying to explain a futuristic technology and you're like, crowns, the locust, there was a locust. I remember there was a locust logo on them, so we're going to like locust. So again, this is where I think that's going to be connective to this, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and then translated is Apollyon. Apollyon. We're going to be connecting that to something. I think everybody's going to be shocked. You, not so much. Again, Sanskrit, the circle. You see how it parallels what's going over in Hindu. In the looks just like the Large Hadron Collider over at CERN, Switzerland. Again, responsible for causing the Mandela effect. All interconnective. So now we're going to be gradually trajectorying towards this. I'm just going to throw a little hint that Adonis, again, like I said, it's a variant of Tammuz. You can look it up, baby names, have fun, momlovebest.com. And then you look up an equivalent of Adonis, and we see it's Dumazid. Dumazid or Tammuz, known as the Sumerians as the Dumazid the shepherd, and an ancient Mesopotamian god associated with shepherds, who is the first and primary consort of the goddess Inanna. It's equivalent of Semiramis. In Sumerian mythology, Dumazid's sister was Geshetana, the goddess of agriculture, fertility, and dream interpretation. Like I said, it's equivalent of Adonis. But now we're going to get to Trump. Trump cards, meanwhile, as are played in different etymological hand. This Trump is believed to be a correction of triumph. Once the name of a card game, a triumph or great achievement, comes from the Latin triumphus, which was a procession and military general led into Rome after a big victory. Its origin is also unclear, but a possible source may be the Greek triumphos, referring to a hymn in honor of the fertility god Dionysus. Remember I mentioned that earlier. Frequently associated with his cult of ecstatic hedonism and the deeper roots of the Greek triumphos, may be the kind of triple time march step. So Trump's name happens to be a variation of Nimrod's son, Tammuz, and the last name affiliated with an equivalent of Nimrod, Dionysus. And give context, the dying god. Throughout the ancient Middle East, numerous versions of the dying god were worshipped according to different names, depending on the culture. There was Osiris in Egypt, Baal in Palestine, Bel or Baal or Marduk in Babylon, Mithras in Persia, Dionysus, Apollo, or Hercules among the Greeks. Typically, the dying god was associated with the sun and therefore followed a pattern of myth. that corresponded to the 4 seasons. So again, when they're telling me the hour thing doesn't really connect, but it does connect to season, I'm like, yeah. He was believed to die during the winter solstice, after which he sojourned in the underworld until he was resurrected during the spring equinox. So Tammuz probably being reborn by it, you know. 2 other festivals corresponded to the cycle, the summer solstice and the fall equinox. Now, the month of Tammuz happens to be in June. Trump happens to have a birthday in June. Hermes. Brother Wilmshurst also regards the name of Hiram as identical with Hermes and thinks that the connection can be traced between the form of Huram and the Sanskrit word guru. Notice I keep mentioning Sanskrit here. Which means spiritual teacher, and therefore takes Hiram Abiff to signify the father teacher, or the teacher from the father. That Hiram was a widow's son, and is also a significant fact. Horus, as the child of Isis, was a reincarnation of his own father, Osiris. And so, as the posthumous child might well be described as a widow's son. And again, though the tribe of Naphtali, I think you have something with that with Mormonism, if I remember correctly. He was born and resided in Tyre, and may well therefore have learned from Dionysian fraternity, which had a center there. So, you notice that Sanskrit, Dionysian, Hermes, and now we get Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff was thought to be the builder of the temple, the second temple of Solomon. And again, why are they emphasizing a third temple? Again, that's a Masonic thing. That is not of God. That is not of Christ. But they're getting us to think that, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. No. But Hiram Abiff, there's a ceremony, and I think I got 2 or 3 slides, and I'm going to be doing a little excerpt thing that comes from that, of the ceremony that they have, where they have a mock thing where he dies, and when he raises again, he is the new son, known as a Mason. This is some stuff that people already know. This is, I think, a Rosicrucian artwork, if I remember correctly. You got the all-seeing eye at the top, relates to Horus, aka Tammuz. Also Hera in Greek mythology. So again, another equivalent. You guys can sift it out. Relates to Osiris, the going down dove. Now, if you looked at my post at the Denver airport, it shows a guy in a military uniform, and he's slaying the dove. So it's probably talking about Osiris rising from the ashes like a phoenix. And also Athena in Greek mythology. The cult of Saturn and Baal worship, Luciferian and Saturn worship, was showing the little couplet that they got there. Also replicating the 3 tiers on the chalice that the Pope has, symbolizing I'm the king of heaven, I'm the king of earth and the below. What does Osiris mean in the Bible? Osiris played a double role. He was the god of fertility and the embodiment of the dead and resurrected king. Note that. Yes, I thought that was an important thing. I threw it in last minute. The dual role was combined with the Egyptian concept of divine kingship. The king at death became Osiris. Remember, reborn, rebirthed. You become a god on the belt of Orion. When you get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, that's kind of what it's symbolizing, is that you just got your place. So all the other people that kept the secrets before, you're going to be on a pantheon of gods that have gone before you. You are rising to godhood. Though the living king was identified with Horus, a god of the sky. By the way, when you see people doing this, 666, this is the divine king hand sign. I ascended of my own merit because I knew the secrets of the universe of alchemy that the masses did not know. That is ultimately what that symbolizes. And again, that is Britannica.com. You can verify that for yourself. But who else is also known for Osiris? Well, Jesuits, Masons, and Elon Musk. X equals Osiris, and that is literally the cover of his tomb. You can see Aleister Crowley in the bottom left doing the X pose. I did a little short video play called Dead Men's Party. That's the music soundtrack that I put to it, because they all believe in this, when you die, you come back up. It's kind of like very similar to our baptism, but in ours, it's a Holy Spirit to be indwelled within us. With them, it's I'm going to have a chance at ascending to godhood. And again, it's a very much works-based thing. You have to show up to the fraternity. You got to pay your dues. You got to do and eventually you might get your star and achieve this. But if you tell anybody, that's what the vow of silence all about. But again, you see the Jesuits, you see the Masons doing it. It's very common. Stephen Furtick, he's done this expose. Myers, what's her name? Joyce Myers. She's done it right next to him.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna be doing reposts soon on some of this because everyone's like, oh my
Yeah.
God. Even what's his face? He didn't do the expose, but Spurgeon, he was a Mason. A lot of people are all in shock over that. I'm like,
I mean,
just saying. Do you? Let me see if you get this. If not, I will basically give a reading myself of reading what's
Okay.
here. Can you hear?
no audio.
Okay, all good. In the Egyptian, when Osiris is found, the phallus is lost. In the Masonic, when Hiram is found, the word is lost. Isis, aka Semiramis, furnishes a substitute for the phallus. The master furnishes a substitute word. Isis raises the prostrate form of him who is slain. She takes him from his essence. She conceives and brings forth a son. In the Masonic rite, the master raises the prostrate form of him who is slain, whispers in his ear the mystic word, and a son, a Mason, is born into the lodge. In the Egyptian rite, Osiris, again, Nimrod, lived again in his son Horus, Tammuz. The Masonic is slain. Hiram lives again in the newly made Master Mason, who is frequently termed Widow's son. And again, as I read earlier, but to just reiterate, for his presence and power to reign supreme, a phallic symbol, and fires should be lit to honor him, the supposed child of this union, Horus, aka Tammuz, the reincarnated Nimrod. Semiramis claimed a full-grown evergreen tree sprang up out of the roots of the dead tree stump to symbolize the springing forth of a new life for Nimrod on the anniversary of Nimrod's birth, alleged birth. She said that Nimrod would visit the evergreen tree and leave gifts under it. This is the origin premises of the Christmas tree. It equates approximately 9 months after Easter for the date Ishtar became pregnant with Tammuz. So again, we see a consistent narrative of reborn, rebirth. The pine tree, the evergreen, the Christmas tree, this. So now you're seeing how it all outlines and it has a tapestry of symbolism. And if you're able to understand the equivalence, you're able to understand our spiritual warfare.
Right.
It never changed. And again, don't believe me? Okay. Ishtar, also known as Semiramis, the mother of Tammuz, also known as Isis. What was she known as? The Egyptian goddess Isis was a virgin deity, but she was also magically able to conceive a son named Horus, making her the mother goddess. Virgin Mary? What was Isis's nickname? Queen of the Heavens. What is the Virgin Mary known as? Queen of the Heavens. I'm not sure. Do I have a slide on this? Oh, did I? I thought I made a slide. Maybe I missed out. Anyways, but you see the pattern. Semiramis in the beginning in Babylon. You see it over in Isis and Horus. You can find Hathor and her son. I can't pronounce his name, but it's always the same premise of sucking at the tit of mother. This is something where it's kind of like I laugh at the irony because it's a dual meaning of you're always sucking up to mom because he was known as a little bit of a pretty boy, hence Adonis. I think mommy was really manipulating and pulling the strings from behind the scenes, and she offed him because one of the stories, again, is that she was trying to join Osiris in some kind of ritual, and then it didn't work. So she came back, and she found her son sitting in her throne, and she's like, you didn't even miss me? You're sitting gleefully in my throne? So I think she arranged the hunting trip to off him so she could get a tenure on the throne herself. Again, going from outline of peeling from all the other stories and then trying to get a narrative that fits. And you want to pause? Or you want to...
Yep. Are we? Yeah, we
We
probably
got
better.
4 slides left? 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Well,
6, 6 slides left.
start. Yeah, let's just start again. Then we won't have to worry.
Yeah, 6 slides
Okay.
left and we're done.
Perfect. No, you're good.
Perfect.
All right. I will resend. Let me end this.
Bam.
Just 1 second. Okay. And let me push stop recording first so we don't lose anything. There we go. Okay. Got it.
All right. Now we're getting to the summary. And again, I wouldn't be saying anything about this. I'm not one of those people. I voted for the guy twice. First time was
Right.
I don't want Hillary because yikes,
Yeah.
and the other one was eh. When came the one with 2020, my spirit just didn't feel right. I did it, but I was
Yeah.
like, this doesn't feel right in my heart. Now I'm not going to vote anymore. Because
Mm-hmm.
I came to a conclusion. So, folks, that was like what 3 years ago. I had a
Yeah.
change of heart, and you guys can do it too. Because I started looking into some things, and unfortunately, time and time again, ding, 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 it all connects back to Nimrod's son. Anyways,
Well, yeah.
it's
I think he's pretty much a known Jesuit. I mean, like, isn't this
not
known?
enough. Not,
I guess it's not known, but maybe known. Yeah.
when you watch the one on Wicked Planet, I clear it up for sure.
You're
You
like,
know
it'll be
everybody
fine.
that's
Yeah.
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 I went napalm. I literally told him, I
Oh
said,
my
dude, this is
gosh.
napalm for anybody that's like on the fence. They didn't know this one's control. I'm like, I connect it all together, and I'm just like,
There you go. Figure
word.
it out. Yeah. If you can't figure it out, it's just hopeless. So, yeah.
Yes, it's like I didn't leave any stones unturned except for Alex
Right.
Jones, but even then, it's like, don't even get me started. 'Cause
You're
that's a
like,
whole episode
okay.
just for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Shh.
Mr. What is it?
Con-
Bill Hicks. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
sorry,
Yep.
it was the
No,
neck
I
one that
get
got
it.
me.
I get
Um,
it.
folks, I'll do a repost on that, so stay tuned. Behold a white horse, and he sat on him, and had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. MAGA, MAGA, MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
So, Church
Mm-hmm.
of Satan, as you guys can see here, I'm not making up my own logo on
No.
top of the page. You see that I'm using Brave Browser. I'm not hiding it from you. You can look this up yourself. The hierarchy page or tab on the Church of Satan. Yes, I was bold enough to go into their own little website because I don't fear it. I just want to know what's on behind there so I can show you people
It's the
this.
same reasoning why I study the satanic stuff I study. You
Yeah,
cannot explain things to people if you do not understand it yourself. Figure
correct. And
out the
I'm
stuff.
laughing because there was a Sunday school teacher, Mr. Dooley, and when I was a teenager, I was even doing this stuff. I was reading
Yeah.
something on the Da Vinci Code, and I wasn't like heavily, it was more of a browse,
Right.
reading the highlights around the photo and maybe a little bit of a chapter here and there because most of it was boring. I just kind of wanted to get a premise of
Right.
what do they believe. And he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be reading that kind of stuff. Yeah, you never did that." So I'm
No,
not
no,
reading it
no.
to nerd.
Yeah.
I'm reading it to understand.
It's
And
a
he even
lot different.
apologized to me later.
God knows your intention. He
Right.
does.
Right. And I literally am just doing it for that. Again, the librarians all know me by my first name. I was a teenager that didn't have a phone until I was 14. And even then it was like pay per text. I was very
Right.
much into reading books and symbolism and stuff like that. Yes, I looked into astrology for a little bit because I was curious about personalities and whatnot, but I wasn't ever reading into horoscopes because again, I was
Right.
just curious about the personality aspect until I found out psychology wise I can do the same thing and probably get the same thing, you know.
Right.
Um anyways, so again, folks, that's another reason it helped with my research now. I don't do it anymore because Astroth astrology.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, it helps me get to where I am now. So, but anyways, as you can see, the fifth position, highest priest position on the Church of Satan website, administrator, agent, master are descriptive titles for what people do, not the levels or ranks. Thus, they can be held by members with different degrees. High priest, high priestess are the top administrative titles and can be held by the fourth and fifth degree members. Those who hold the third degree, fifth degrees are all members of the priesthood at the Mendes, and the individuals with these titles may be called reverend. Again, look it up on Church of Satan website, but remember when I kept referring to Sanskrit earlier? Okay, let's look at over here. Most Latin-based countries in Europe, magic, magical, witch, maga, maga, maga.
Mhm.
Maga in Italian, sorceress or witch. Maga in Spanish, magician or wizard, illusionist. Maga in Polish, magician. Maga in Sanskrit, high priest of the sun. Now, what did we talk about with Horus? What do we talk
Oh
about with
boy.
male? It's either going to be a sun or a star, sun or a star, sun or a star. And you see, again, it connects with Maga. J6 was an Orthodox Christianity and Catholic tradition. Is the Epiphany of Christ or Epiphany of something or other. Look it up. And it's said to be the day that he was baptized by John the Baptist, Christ. Also in adolescence, he was visited by the Magi. Root word for Magi, mega.
Mhm.
So J6 has a little bit of a connotation there. There's a reason for that. If you want to dig into this even further, you can look up the occult symbolism at Trump Tower on the occult rejects. I put that there as a screenshot because I break down. He doesn't have one sun god relic up in Trump Tower. He doesn't have two. He's got three. And I break it all down. I give you the etymology. I give you the symbolism. I give you headline articles that use terms affiliated with Trump and the stuff that's up in his tower. It's absolutely crazy. It's done very well, over 7,000 views. So highly recommend you check that out if you want to kind of confirm some of the sun god stuff, because I don't really believe you. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
This was my favorite slide.
Oh no.
Mega Red Dawn, Armageddon. It has all the same letters in it. Again, really crazy stuff. But again, the MAGA hat. I was surprised. This one went kind of viral, considering I'm censored so much. But this one went viral, and I was doing like the crap filming from my phone onto the camera because I'm trying to do the best I can while I'm learning this stuff.
Right.
And I broke down how hats or the Ku Klux Klan, like that's what I was originally digging into. And gradually, I was like, oh gosh, this is like a whole thing. Come to find out,
Mhm.
caps come around and they actually mean fool. It's like a dunce
Mhm.
cap, stuff like that. The wizard's hat, how it connects to Disney. It's his name being a variant of what was the name of the wizard? Sinbad,
Uh, and yes, no,
Sinbad,
was it?
Sinbad, whatever Disney's. It's an anagram of that. Look up the name, you'll
Okay.
find it. Again, I'm saying that to audience sometimes too, but
Yeah.
yeah, you look that up. Dunce cap, Mickey, and he
Mhm.
had a huge Masonic ties. He had ties to the whole filming space. But again, Make America Great, Babylon the
Mm.
Great. A lot of Kabbalistic rabbis refer to America as the second Babylon. Just saying, folks. And again, and upon her forehead was written Mystery, Babylon the Great. And again, that's Revelation 17:5. Possible. But other things to consider. Donald, again, I explained how it goes back to Adonis, but this is just definitions of the basic name. Donald, world ruler. Trump, to deceive. Donald stems from the root name origin of Adonis. Equivalent of Adonis is Dumizid. Dumizid's equivalent is Nimrod's son Tammuz. Trump stems from the root word triumph. Again, we already went through this, but just to refresh, which allegedly originated from parades to the Greek masked god of theater. Masked
Hmm.
god? Masked god. Oh my,
Hmm.
does that have anything to do with 2020? Dionysus
Not at all.
connecting, Nimrod connecting. Again, 9/11 coronation. Oh, sorry, I have that on the bottom. I'll get to it. Dionysus was the equivalent of Nimrod, and he was the half brother to Apollo. Now, Apollo is Horus or Nimrod or Tammuz, and Nimrod did his own mother. So therefore, half brother would check out. Yeah, kind of sick, but it checks
Mm.
out. The name of the first rocket to space? Apollo. Name of the second was Artemis. Artemis was the twin sister of Apollo. Artemis, the goddess of sudden death.
Ah.
Died suddenly, anyone? All sun god
Ooh.
equivalents are Tammuz. Trump has three up in his penthouse apartment. The original address when it was purchased by Jared Kushner was known as 666. I can't remember the exact name of the street, but that was it.
Because that doesn't matter. 666.
Doesn't matter. It's just, and he
Yeah.
almost went broke buying that location. And it
Wow.
was known as the Tower of Light. Now, really weird
Mm.
that, again, Abe Feder, if I remember correctly, he has a Masonic background. But again,
Hmm.
light, you have star and three sun god relics up on top. You have light with the Masonic connection. It's the seeking of the light, like you said in
Mhm.
Kabbalah by Albert Pike. That's what Masonry is. And again, son of perdition, mentioned in Revelation 9:11. Apollyon, Apollo.
Hmm.
It's ironic because Sol Invictus, aka Christmas, worships a sun god. Trump has three sun god relics in his tower. His name is a variant of Tammuz's, and folks are looking to him to save the world. It's
Wow.
basically down
The
to.
Great Deception, possibly.
Again, his name, world ruler, Trump to deceive.
Mm-hmm.
A world ruler that deceives. And again, MAGA Red Dawn, Armageddon. Just
Yep.
saying, 9/11 was coronation day for kings in ancient Israel. And now we're
Mm.
going to get to the next part. let's look at the tattoos on Baphomet, aka Horus, aka Tammuz. In alchemy, Solvay, which is on one arm, solution or coagulation. Is that correct? How am I pronouncing it?
Yep.
Okay.
Coagula.
Coagula. Yep. Component elements being synthesized into a new substance, and of the heavenly thereby manifesting into the earthly. So therefore, it was a resurrection ceremony, an ascension ceremony. And again, like I did on the Josh Monday thing, corona, garland, crown. There's tons of articles you can cross-reference what corona means. Coagula, again, the other tattoo on the other arm. You might want to pronounce that for me.
Coagula. Or
No,
where?
the
Arterial thrombosis.
Thank you. Thrombosis.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a blood clot in an artery, which may be serious because it can stop blood reaching important organs. Coagulated means as blood clot. So again, died suddenly. It connects to
Blood
say
clots.
he ascended.
Yeah.
2020 was a crowning achievement. So again, 2020, I just realized this. Thank you, Holy Spirit. 2020 equals 40. That was the death of Tammuz, the age.
Ah.
I just realized that.
Wow.
Anyways,
Whoa.
sorry, folks. This is fun when you come onto the stuff and you're not even expecting it.
Yep. And numbers, it all means everything to them, or they wouldn't have gematria, all the things they have. I mean,
Enochian,
you can say it doesn't mean anything. It means something. So
esoteric, exoteric. They know what it means. And if you look up the thing with the symbolism of Back to the Future and how it connects to Trump. Trump was supposed to be who was the name of the bully in that movie? Biff?
Oh, Biff, yeah. Like Hiram Biff.
Oh, where did you go? Wow. Okay, so there you go, folks. They even threw that out there for us. And remember, oh my word, that was cool. I didn't catch that. What I caught was they're talking about the clock tower. But Horus, hour, and remember, 12 minus 6 equals 6. 1 minus 7 equals 6. 2 minus 8 equals 6. You go all the way around the clock. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6.
Yep.
Why is it called Baal Hermon? Baal Hermon. Horus. And again, Baal, base Baal game, base bell. Ring the bells. Ring the bells on Christmas. Ring the bell. Baal Hermon, Baal Hermon. Again, Herman.
And again, why did they take all the bells off of all the old cathedrals?
Yes.
Most of them.
Again, even cathedrals, they represent a steeple, aka a phallus. Look, ring it every hour upon the hour. Why are you doing that? Because we're in remembrance of Horus.
Yep.
It's not of Christ. Again, so when you see this kind of stuff on a church or whatnot, you start driving around, you're just like, oh, okay.
I see.
Yes. Yes. Why are you ringing?
Well, they've torn down enough of it in America that you don't get to see as much as you do in other places, but they still they left some remnants. Yeah.
Right. But again, Space Force.
Oh yeah. I saw that. I saw that one, and that's so creepy.
Yeah. And again, I wonder who signed Space Force into.
Also, the January 6th thing, I have to tell you this because I was looking at the John D and the horns, and that guy with the horns is the one that they nailed everything onto.
Yeah.
You know, it can't just be whatever, you know.
They know what they're doing.
Symbolism.
And come to find out the guy was an actor.
Yep.
I was right on that when it was all going down.
Yeah, it was too silly to be. I think we all kind of caught that, but then, you know, it was funny. And so people are like, oh, well, it's funny. Yeah, but why? They never do anything. And I have a show and I haven't released it yet because I've got a backlog for a minute. But New York Patriot and I did one on Revelation of the Method, and people just don't understand. And they don't want you to understand, like, why do they not want you to read about demons? Well, because then you'll understand what's going on. Why do they want you afraid of everything? Because then you will know what's going on. Why don't they speak Latin? It's a dead language. You don't need to learn that. No, I started learning Spanish and things made a lot more sense.
Right.
It's all for a reason. You're not supposed to know Latin because you're supposed to be a stupid American. That's why.
Or even back in Europe. Only the priests speak it. You don't know what they're really saying.
No.
And they're just going, okay, whatever. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And they get you to repeat it.
Right.
And
then
why do they
stuff like, you know, purgatory and whatnot.
Exactly. They don't want you to know all this. Why does J.K. Rowling, who's just an author, and I'll probably have to bleep out that last name. I don't even know. I don't want to get sued. But this is truth. She has Solve and Coagula tattooed on her. Like, why?
Really?
Yes, 100%.
Wow. Yeah. Don't need to explain anything more there.
No.
I'm
Nope.
not buying that story.
Nope. They are all placed where they are placed for a reason. What are all the main big shows like about like vampirism and blood sacrifices and weird stuff like Matrix shows with you said about the wasps with like the helmets. There's a whole Matrix show. The third one is all with the hive and the bee things that attack everyone. Like they're telling you everything.
Yeah. It's like the
mean,
oracles of
everything.
Delphi, and it's like we're telling you literally every step
Everything.
by step, play by play, every symbol, the symbolism on your money, the symbolism when you log it. Again, their subscription, you're paying $9.99 a month. Turn it upside down, 666.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're paying $19.99 a month.
Yeah.
One goes into 666. Again, you turn it upside down. Again, folks, they tell you all the time.
They tell you everything,
Somebody
and
like
they have
myself
to.
is asking for $5.
Yes. Yes. They tell you
because I don't want to do that kind of.
You don't want to do $9.99.
No. Heck no.
Oh, you're just playing.
I'm laughing when people are saying that, I'm tight on money too, but $5 is pretty cheap comparison when you're paying this demonic price tag.
Yes.
To keep you distracted. And so I was talking to one girl.
And to do what? Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to one girl. I said, so when you watched the Sound of Freedom movie, I says, you didn't really learn anything. You were entertained. You weren't really educated because I'm showing you all the symbolism. And then she started literally giving me these cognitive dissonant response, like, where do you live? Oh, is that your car outside? Where'd you get your haircut done? I'm like, what does this have to do with me? Yeah. It was like the most baby 6-year-old response I've ever seen. I was like, you don't want to know the truth. It's like, well, do you listen to a podcast? I don't have time for podcasts.
I know. That's my favorite. I'm like, wait, what?
But you have time to watch a 10-hour episode show on Netflix. You can binge that. And she's like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I knew that was her weakness. And she immediately shut up. I was like, see, you just like being entertained. You don't like being informed and educated. I said, so your opinion is irrelevant. And the uncle was like, yes, that's awesome.
You're starting fights at the dinner table.
Yeah, I just hilarious. I point it right out at people now. Because I'm like, if I'm going to be playing stupid, we're going to have
then
problems.
Let's make it good. Yeah.
Right.
Even now, I was telling my husband, I'm like, I just am listening to podcasts all the time now because I'm either prepping for a podcast or learning about something for a podcast or whatever. And so he's like, even at the gym, like when you're working, I'm like, even at the gym.
Nothing sacred.
I'm like, I don't even listen to music anymore. I mean, occasionally, but no. Yeah, that's constant.
Even then, I listen to like indie folk songs or like musicals or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
You don't know any of the modern artists? I'm like, no, not really. They're all in the club. Why do I care?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But again, Baphomet, in the Pope's room where he has all those little conferences, you see how it reflects off into the mirror. It's a form of Baphomet, aka Christ pagan doppelganger Tammuz, going back to the Nimrod family. And being a snake, remember, he saw himself as an avatar of Azel. That's the best thing I can paste it. So why would you want to bring him up from the abyss to rule over the fallen angels? Because he's been the most loyal, and he's the one that's kept all the religions and everybody asleep. He is Christ pagan doppelganger. That's why you have Catholicism that came along. Because I'm going to actually use the Catholic Church and pretend that it's of Christ, blah, blah. So again, Catholic Church, and I think if I remember correctly, God's Bankers is a book. I can't remember the name of the author, but that is the name of the book. He broke it down that Trump is actually in charge of the Vatican Bank.
And Azazel was one of the main ones that came down and started all the crap, but he never came down for a woman because he never laid with one. Did you know that? Yeah. He did not.
No, it does not surprise me, though.
He did not. He was the leader, but he didn't do it. So that's why he got in so much trouble, because he was kind of like, he didn't really come down for the reasons everybody else came down for. Like he was just trying to stir up crap. And so, yeah, it was not good. And obviously, like even the fallen knowledge that we have, like all this hidden knowledge, they say it's nothing. It's like garbage. It's like nothing burger,
But I don't want to know. It says when I get there, maybe I'll be granted it. Except, honestly, I prefer to just be a scribe or an entertainer in heaven and just keep me in my back room with some animals.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Well, we know enough for now. Like, I think we know more than most people know, and then we're trying to
Yes.
share it just because, not because not because you want to share forbidden knowledge, because they use it against us.
Yes.
If they didn't use it
Yes.
against us, we really wouldn't have to share anything. But they
Right.
do. They do. I mean,
And it's in
that
our
new
everyday
show,
culture, you know?
that new Netflix movie, that End of the World show. Oh my gosh. I
Everyone's
couldn't
talking
even.
about it. I can't bring
Oh,
myself to buy Netflix just to watch that. I'm like, nah.
well, let me tell you, I am very, I don't get scared easily. I read crazy stuff. Whatever. That movie scared me because I'm like, nope, this is probably real.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
they already
just
have
was like,
the zombie deer thing. That's a
yeah,
real thing.
yeah. I was just sitting there like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't go to bed. And my husband's like, it wasn't even that scary. I'm like, yeah, it was. It was so scary because there was so much symbolism. It would take you like 10 hours to break it down. It's
Right.
wild.
Right.
It was so in your face. I'm like, they're not even trying anymore. They're
Right.
just gonna serve it on a plate, I guess,
Well, they're bold after 2020.
Jeez.
Like I said, if for those who are awake, it's going to boomerang back into their faces tenfold. To
Yeah.
those who are asleep, they're just going to say, "Well, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And they're
What do you
going to
mean?
accept the mark because it just sounds like it's a Bitcoin. It's a convenience thing. I don't see what
Yeah,
your problem is. And it's like that's how you're
exactly.
going to get duped, is because you're stupid.
Yep.
And
Or it's simple. It's the easy thing. It's like, okay, well, everything's already easy. Do we really need it easier? Like, that
right,
seems so silly to me.
right,
Everything's already not even real money. Like,
yeah,
you really need it in your
it's an
hand or
illusion.
whatever. Like, uh, that's
That's why I tell
wild.
people is like, yes, I need money for just a temporary livelihood because that's what they expect of me.
You have
Again,
to. Yeah.
render unto
What do you do?
Caesar. But for the most part, like if you're telling monetarily wise, like I already cashed in my 401k because I'm pretty sure within the next 10 years or so, I'm not going to cash in to spend it. I'm going to be dead before then.
Yeah.
I already know I'm on a list. I had a buddy of
Right.
mine. I did a post on Bohemian Grove and he was browsing it and he got a call from a 900 number from a Fed relative saying, be
Oh,
careful about that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. His kind of post says, I know Masons, they're good people. And he's like, okay, so why are you
not
telling me
really
this?
though.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm just telling you, be careful with that kind of content. And I'm like, okay, thanks for confirming for me that I'm on a list that, they can
Jeez.
off me at any time.
Right.
But yeah, he sent me a screenshot.
Jeez.
Um, but
That's
yeah,
funky.
anyways, you can see Baphomet on all the World Health Organization, which happened to be founded a month after Israel or a month before, same year. At 36, 36, 36, after the founding of Israel, you'll find a lot of significant things always occurred. 1984, 1948 was founding of Israel. 36 years after 1984, we got 2020. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of bummed because 36 is my favorite number, but what else is um
They ruin everything.
right? And it
Uh,
was 12/9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, Satan, that deceiveth the whole world. He was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast down with him. And the last slide is we will be like gods,
mhm.
transhumanism, the ultimate agenda that stemmed from Darwin and his cousin, half cousin, Sir Francis Galton, and he was the one that forged well, we already have the evolution of species. What about evolving our species? So between Francis Galton and Darwin's bulldog, aka Thomas Huxley, he was nicknamed so because every time somebody was challenging Darwin against his Christianity aspect of evolution, he would get up in their face and be like, "How dare you go after Darwin? He's like the greatest." And he was the grandfather of the author of Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, and I have a photo of him doing the eye pose,
Mm.
and Julian Huxley, who was the father of transhumanism and eugenics movement. So when people look
Wow.
into that, they kind of see the origins of Baphomet,
Mhm.
panequal. I'm saying that for censorship purposes, but if you guys
Right.
know what that means, it's an equivalent pandemic,
Mhm.
pandemonium, panic. That all goes back to Baphomet variant, Krampus, Pied Piper, same thing, folks.
Yep.
Um, Again, this was a fun one. I could be wrong, but given all the stuff I've already relayed, I looked
I
up some
don't think.
Sumerian
Yeah.
stuff. I looked up her. What does it mean in Sumerian translation? what does Mez mean? And roughly, this is the translation: is that His Highness or Her Highness, His Highness, the hero of divine ordinances of youth. And I put eternal because it's 3 generations. So that's rough.
Mhm.
Again, I could be wrong, but just doing a basic research and knowing all the stuff that I've compiled, that's what we get. And it matches with transhumanism. It matches with the lie that we have over here with Satan and Adam and Eve, is that you shall be as gods. And it coincides with the modern New Age Eastern deception of the Bible isn't God's word. We will live forever, reincarnated or ascending. And we are
Right.
gods, goddesses
Ascension.
ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's what I got from you
Constant.
folks.
Constant with ascension, constant with
Yes.
you know, you
Chakra,
can you could be your own god. You
really.
can be your own star. That's why
Yes.
selfies, not that I don't take them for friggin' promotional use, everything else,
Right.
but like
Right.
yeah, it's not just to post, right? We're trying to get out there so you know who I am. You got to see my face. It's
Right.
kind of a thing.
That's why I have it on
But
top of my profile so people can like feel a little
yeah,
confident, like I know what I look like.
exactly. We're not trying to hide. I mean, like
Right.
he said, we could be off at any time. I'm in the middle of Jesuit Central as an ex-Mormon, and I'm still talking. They know where I am. My fingerprints are in the FBI database. I would never do anything to myself. I always put
I
that
already
on
did
everything.
Ancestry, so go ahead,
Yeah,
folks. I know.
same, same.
I
And
did a
I do
mistake, but
think,
again, as an orphan, I was curious.
interestingly enough, I don't think it's as much for what most people think it's for. They think it's about cloning, or I think they're looking for something. I think they've integrated a lot of the people in America. If you go back to the orphan trains and the cabbage
Yep.
babies,
Yep.
they messed with our DNA. They've definitely done manipulation. When you go back to Diana of Ephesus, you go back to the goddesses in India as well, with all the multiple breasts,
Yeah.
and this is what every cabbage baby postcard ever. There's a woman in a red dress, Scarlet Whore of Babylon. Like, okay, like mother of all. I mean, it's simple, but it's crazy, right? We're gonna get called crazy if we think that. But
I
why
don't
are
care.
Americans fat and sick and not doing well in the world? Maybe because we were an experiment.
Yeah.
Our hearts are still with Jesus. That doesn't change anything. This is a vessel. You are not that.
Right.
But we really are a nation of orphans. We are a nation of people that really don't know their history.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I
that's
don't
what you're
think
seeing in the
it's,
comment
yeah.
sections. Is everybody's like, yeah, flatten them to the ground. It's like, but they don't know history. They don't know
Mm.
the other side's plight. They don't have any humanity. And I've seen people that are like Christians. I literally took a screenshot of his bio. I said, "Do you see what he's saying?" He literally drops the F bomb and he says that they could all die. And I'm like, you can't tell me that's of Christ.
No.
How can you justify kids? Kids.
Yeah. Kids. And at the end of the day, obviously, some of their genetic manipulation didn't work because there's
Right.
many of us who have the gene of Isis or Genesis still,
Mm, mm-hmm,
right? Because
mm-hmm.
that's what they're looking for. And I'm almost certain it's between that and the God gene that they are so pushing that. And who's one of the biggest dumpers into those websites? The Mormon Church. They
Mm,
are totally obsessed with genealogy. They are
right.
100% obsessed with it so they can do work for the dead. Why? Why? Because it's all about power, because their god
Right.
is Abraxas, and it goes back to necromancy and it goes back to knowledge. And I mean, they're really obsessed with
Hermeticism. Yeah.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. You know, at this point, very few things do. But your brain sometimes feels like it might explode. I don't know about you.
It does. Like I had my buddy's wife. We were chatting before you came home, and she was like, "You're kind of depressing to talk to." And I'm like, "I know, I know."
I
I just took a
mean,
sip. And I'm
like,
like,
yeah.
It's me," and I realize that I sound this way. I realize, and people are thinking I'm cynical. It's like, no, I'm just kind of
You're
concerned.
Micaiah. Yeah.
Right?
Now
You're
I
not
remember his
hearing what I'm
name,
saying.
Micaiah. Yes.
Yeah, and
That's why
what you've been
the
saying.
king didn't want to summons him, because he said he always had bad news for him, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or why did they call you Jeremiah? Because you always had bad news every time. And again, that's what I said. When I go to church, that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, great. What's he got to say now?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like.
Yeah. I get
For
it.
what you were saying, I was listening to one podcast, and the guy had at least 4 or 5 pages. One of the longest reads is like What Lurks Beneath. And he talks about Project Feather, where they're trying to resurrect cryptoids, and they're taking things from moth DNA and they're taking from wolf
Yep.
DNA, and eventually they use this
Chimeras.
over down in Cuba. Where is it? Guantanamo Bay, and then it wasn't working, so they ended up letting them loose in Louisiana. And where do we hear about all these wolfmen and stuff? That is Michigan and
Yeah.
Louisiana. And I'm like, they're trying to do it
Huh.
again.
You're
They're
like,
trying. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, this checks out. And again, if you have a Bible knowledge, because again, some people are just like, oh, it's spooky, yeah. But me, I'm like, they're trying to do it again, the dummies.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
they're trying to appease their gods with like, oh, we can mess around with DNA and redo with the
Look at
they
what
did
we
at
can
Mount
do.
Hermon.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
and then you bring it into it full circle with these cabbage baby things on top of it. And then you think about all the nuns and all these places in all these orphanages where they weren't just finding children, they were babies,
Mm,
dead baby cemeteries of unmarked baby graves. And
right.
I'm like, that's kind of creepy because that screams to me back to DNA, like messing, like were these the ones that failed before you figured it out?
Well, wasn't there? My neighbor was telling me that there was a church, an old Catholic church, that they were like somebody stumbled into it. It's either in New York or Boston where they found a whole bunch of those babies in tubes or something like that. Do you remember this
Yeah,
story?
it's creepy.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "This is a thing." She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, the priest was doing stuff with the nuns, and then they put the
Yep.
babies down there in the basement. And I'm like, "This is a thing." And she's like, "Yeah, you can look it up. There's
Or it
articles."
wasn't the priest. Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah,
he was just
whatever the story
the
they gave.
fixer. Yeah, exactly.
I'm
I
like,
mean,
that's messed up.
it is messed up. Well, here we are in our messed up heads, and at least we have people we can speak with because,
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
said, most of the time it's a little rough, and I get it. I get it. Like, but also I feel like this is important. I really
Yes.
do. And I feel like the work you're doing is really important and it's thorough.
Appreciate
And
that.
you come with receipts, like you said.
Yes.
So
Or things to consider.
yeah, I think that people should check you out. And where all can they find you right now? I know you're in the midst of making a
Krollology
podcast as well.
101. Krollology 101, like my name, and just put ology _ 101 Instagram, or the Mana Daily podcast. You can find me on Patreon or Rumble. Just getting started, so be patient.
Yes.
Still learning the technical aspects and ironing that out. But yeah, Mana Daily podcast, all one word. And if I do as special episodes, I'll either be on Patreon or I'll re-upload them for like Swapcasts and whatnot at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yep.
So that's
Well, that's the
basically
best
two
way.
top
Yeah.
ones. And then if you can contribute, highly appreciated. Like I said, if I go back to work full time, you're not going to get this kind of stuff compiled because I can't divide my attention and do it all at once. So if
This
you could
is a
throw
lot of
$5,
work.
yeah,
Yes.
everybody's like, oh, it's not enough. It's like, trust me, if there's like
Yep.
300 of you that threw me $5, I would be all
It's
set.
enough.
I'm
Yep.
not trying to make money, just a livelihood for a roof over my head till they crash the grid. So with that in mind,
Good way to say that. I like
yeah,
it.
it's Paul the Tent Makers Fund. Is what I call it.
Yes. Yes. And we're doing this at the end of the day just to help people. Like we're a bunch of people that didn't also ask for this. At the end of the day, like I don't know, I don't think you asked for it. I definitely didn't ask for it, but I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here now.
Amen.
We're called
Yeah.
just like Jesus went and grabbed a bunch of derelict fishermen and tax people and we're them and we're like,
Yes.
really? I mean, believe us, we're like, really? Also because yeah, I wouldn't have
Speak
either,
of the
but
great
here we
mystery that
are.
even I don't understand, said Paul in New Testament. And I'm like, yeah, that's
Exactly.
even me explaining this. I
Yeah.
know I sound nuts,
Right.
but at the same time,
Yes.
it makes me excited because I'm like, it makes sense.
Yes.
The word is alive, and I
It is
get it.
alive. It's alive.
So
And you gotta just open your mind when you read it. Please try not, even if you only read 2 or 3 verses a day, if you
Yeah.
pray first and really be that with an open heart, it will change for you.
Mhm.
It's not about reading the whole thing again. Like
Right.
if you've never read the Bible, please read it or
Right.
figure it out what it's talking about, and
Right.
then do this living word scripture study that we're talking about because it's different. you know, I
pick
do
up.
feel like you have to have some basis though for
I would
knowledge. But
recommend a lot of Viola's stuff because for me it rejuvenates what, like, I'm not just reading, like, he gives verse, compare, contrast, and then I kind of like
yes.
looking at the Bible in a new way, and I want to structure my life on that. So I recommend that if you're trying to get toes in the water.
Yes. Yes. We need it all the toes we can get. We're not trying to say like, oh, you're different than us. No, we want more people like us, even though it's kind of weird for the first little while, you'll be like, this is really not normal.
Well,
And then you'll get used to it.
as I told you with my friend in Australia, I told her, I said,
Mm,
sometimes it feels like I'm in the vineyard and I'm alone. I'm looking around. I'm like, there's somebody else, but like they're like a half 2 acres
far
away.
away.
There's a
They're
whole
so
bunch of
far.
trees blocking the view, and I'm like, God, is there anybody else? Like, I know you said the laborers are few, but I said this is really hard when there's not people to
Yes.
talk to, and that's why I told the boys on Cryptid. I said it's really a fellowship when I get to talk to people that are of like-minded in faith, or at least open. That's so much right there. So much.
Yes. I agree 100%. It's so hard. And, you know, we need more of us. So we hope this helps. And I think you did a really good way of presenting it, like I said, with
You.
receipts. So I appreciate the work because I know this took a long time. I know this took a lot of effort, and I'm appreciative of that and that you came on
Thank
to
you.
share it with us. So
Yeah.
I'm always open for another time, and I would love to do some other deep dives because this was amazing.
We can
So
talk about the temple next. Yeah.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got all kinds of Mormon receipts.
Nice. Nice.
All right. Well, I will let you go back to your night, and I appreciate you more than you can know because I know this
Oh,
took
thank you.
a lot with our technical difficulties.
Yeah, I just hope you can piece it all together with smoothness.
It will be good. God's got us. I think so.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right. You have a good night.
Same to you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you again.
All right.